Hi, welcome to the show. Welcome to Local Matters. Well, we have a local matter that's been a statewide matter. That's the legalization of marijuana. And it's come home to our city council here in McMinnville. And to talk about the opportunities and possible restrictions that could happen on marijuana in our city, I have with me today our city manager, Martha Meeker.
Thanks, Ken.
Martha, thanks for coming back.
Well, it's always good to be here. You have a great show.
Thank you very much. Well, let's just jump into it. I think it's good to maybe break down these questions into three areas. We're going to talk about early sales, what that means. Then we'll go to growing, processing, and wholesaling, what that could look like or not look like here in town. And then we'll talk about taxation.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you summed it up nicely because, recently the legislature up in Oregon passed legislation modifying Measure 91, and it primarily breaks out into those three categories. And early sales will be the first, as people might imagine. It allows medical dispensaries to sell recreational marijuana starting October 1. So since that's right around the corner, the decision of whether McMinnville wants to ban it or to allow it, we need to get on that. So as such, we'll expect a public hearing coming up September 8th.
Why did the legislature say, hey, we're going to do this early sales thing? Why did they give that option? Why did they say, well, we're going to wait till the rules are formed? Because the rules are not formed. We're going to give cities more time to figure it. What's pushing early sales? Well,
Measure 91 legalized recreational marijuana starting July 1st, 2015. So right now, you can have recreational marijuana. As such, though, it's almost like an immaculate conception for you to have it because there's no place where you can get it.
So how did you get that? You don't have to answer that question, but you wouldn't want to because it would have been illegal.
Well, and you can grow it on your own, but still, how did you get the seeds and all those kind of things? So I think to do an honest effort to moving forward on Measure 91, to allow existing entities who already have marijuana, and that's, of course, the medical, because they've been in existence for a while now. It's their attempt to allow recreational marijuana to get a foothold and to do an honest try at fulfilling Measure 91. And also, it gives the Oregon Liquor Control Commission a little bit more time to really study implementation rules, instead of trying to rush as fast as they can. So I actually think it's kind of a good balance between the need to fulfill Measure 91 and the need for thoughtful legislation on its oversight and regulation.
So it's almost like an experiment. Will they be looking at what's going on during these early sales as they make these rules?
I don't know if they will or not because there's not a lot of time between when they start the licensing process. That's January 4th. So, and we expect to see something from the OLCC maybe in October, November, December at the latest. So they're only going to have a couple of months to see how the recreational sales goes at a medical dispensary. So I think it was pure convenience to do Measure 91 justice and to get recreational marijuana available for those who want it.
So early sales of recreational marijuana, what will that look like? If it was not banned by the city council, you would go to one of the two medical dispensaries we have here, and what could you buy?
You can go to like I said, up at Jim Gulba's operation or Greg's operation, and you can get up to an ounce of marijuana a day. You can get 4 immature plants, plants that haven't flowered yet, and you can also get seeds.
So, Martha, isn't this kind of strange, talking about the fact that marijuana is now legal, and you're telling me about you can get an ounce a day? I think an ounce of marijuana is a lot of marijuana, isn't it?
Well, quarter, not a full quarter, but still a quarter ounce is still what I would think would be a significant amount. Yeah. But that's the law. Yeah. And I got to admit, it is kind of weird to talk because I tell folks that in my previous job, I did do a lot of things, senior leader decision making, that transfers over very well to being a city manager. I guarantee you right now, I never had to do anything with marijuana in my previous job as a general in the Air Force.
So this is probably one of your biggest surprises as to what got landed on your desk.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy new things, so I'm going to put this in the category of learning new things.
Still on early sales, you've heard people, been making presentations around town. I've seen a couple of them. It's been in the paper. Have you seen much interest in this process of early sales, or banning or accepting?
Well, it is interesting because I've done 2 presentations on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, and I've done a presentation at the Early Morning Rotary Club. And not as much interest as folks may think out there. I think possibly that when Measure 91 passed, folks just said, okay, the battle...
It's over and done.
It's over and done. There is still concern, though, in our business community, which is why I went to talk to the Chamber, on the effect on their workforce. Because you talk to many businesses today, and hiring that workforce is not easy in McMinnville, because we're in a very popular area. Other businesses are vying for the same labor pool. So they want to make sure that anything that affects that labor pool is very carefully screened. So that's the interest today, right now, of our businesses. For individuals who just have they are just against marijuana, no one has come to talk to me at all, which has actually, that surprised me. I really thought there would be more emotional debate in this than what it is. So I don't know what we'll see at the council when it comes up on the September 8th, but like I said, that is probably my big surprise, is the lack of really in-depth interest in this right now.
There is option to slow it down, prevent it, make it much less in our community, and people haven't been coming to you about, how can I do that? What should I be telling the council? These are my concerns around it. It hasn't been happening.
No.
Let's go back to business concerns. I've been to your presentations, and one question that's often asked is, well, now, is it legal to come to work high?
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Well, I will actually talk about it as an employer myself, because I have about 180 so employees here in the city, and it has not changed a thing.
I should back up. It's legal to come to work high, but do you have a right to come to work high? That's probably the question.
That's exactly right, because we don't allow, if you are inhibited in any way, whether it be alcohol, whether it be medication, drugs, or whether it be marijuana, if you can't do your job, then there's not a place for you in my employ. And that's going to be the same. There's no special rules given to marijuana to where you can't discipline an employee if they come to work and they can't perform their job.
So it's not protected.
It is
marijuana,
not protected.
Even if it's a medical prescription.
Even if it's a medical prescription.
It's not protected. You have to be able to do your job.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard that concern from the business community.
And it is a big one. There's uncertainty out there, and of course, business lives by its workforce. So I can easily see why the concern's out there.
All right, that's early sales. September 8th, City Council hearing 6:30.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, and my thinking is, even if people don't have strong feeling about it, they're kind of, well, I want to find out more. This is the place to go, because there will be all kinds of perspectives voiced.
Yep.
And you can learn what resonates with you, where you may end up having an opinion after that meeting because someone got your attention on something that's important to you, and then you can then voice that opinion.
Oh, I think that's a great way to look at it. And if individuals, for some reason, can't come to the actual council session, it's streamed live over on KLYC, and then MCM tapes it as well, and they put it on their YouTube channel, and then they put it also for play on MCM TV channels. So multiple ways to see the presentation. But if you want to have a participatory position, then you do need to be at the council, because we haven't quite got it figured out how to let you have input over the computer yet. So.
Okay. Well, I know it's been the concern of the council that people be informed about these decisions that they're going to be making, because they want input. They don't want to be there in a vacuum from their constituents trying to do what's best for the constituents.
You bet. And the council is exceptionally good about listening to members who come forward and talk to them. And that's the great benefit of, a democracy and this thing called home rule, where we allow citizens to, no kidding, have a true voice in the ordinances and the laws that rule them. So please, if there's any interest at all, come on out and learn. And like I said, the council really appreciates that.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's early sales. October 1st.
September 8th begins October 1st.
Yeah, early sales will, if not banned, it will begin October 1st, and that program goes through the end of the year.
Goes through the end of December 31st, 2016. And the reason for the extended time period, all the way around for the full calendar year, was to give enough time, because even if the licensing process, if you're a potential business individual and you want your license, you can apply January 4th. Probably is going to take a while to get your actual license. Mm-hmm. And even then, now you got to go, if you're going to grow it, well, you got to find land or a building, and you got to plant it, and then, the plant's got to grow. And so it's going to take a while for the business to get its legs up. So in the meantime, an individual who wants to use recreational marijuana will still have the ability to go to medical dispensaries to get their product.
Okay. Now let's move to some topics that will not be part of the September 8th hearing. Mm-hmm. They'll be part of later hearings.
Yes.
But let's talk now so people can get a handle on. We're not halfway through the complexities of this.
Oh, we just started.
Yeah.
We just started.
Okay. Well, let's talk about growing, processing, and sales.
Yep.
So there's two categories there. One's medical,
yep,
and one's recreational. Now tell us what the city will be considering on those two areas.
And as you talked about, this is the larger issue. This is the, what I call the normalization of the marijuana industry. And, whether you're growing soybeans or, ryegrass or marijuana, there's certain, there's same aspects to it. You got to grow it, you got to process it, harvest it, cut it up, do whatever. And then you got to wholesale it, and then you need to go and sell it. So each one of those individual parts can, for the most part, be legislated by the council. And the reason I say most parts is because the Oregon State will not allow a city or a county to put any restrictions on the growing of medical marijuana. So the council can't do anything about that. And then medical marijuana, because it's rather a small sales capacity, they don't have wholesaling. So that leaves us with 6 categories. Okay. 6 categories that we...
2 in medical.
2 in medical.
Which are processing and sales. And the city council can restrict or ban.
Or ban.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the difference between restrict and ban here shortly.
Okay. Now the other 4 processes are in recreational.
Yep.
Say those again.
Okay, that's commercial or recreational. So you grow it, then you process it, then you wholesale it, and then you sell it.
And the city can restrict or ban any of those 4 processes individually.
Exactly. We're going to talk each one of these 6 has to be addressed individually, because you could say I don't want it to grow in my city.
Yeah.
But if you can bring it and we'll process it for you. Or you can say, well, I just want to sell it and I don't want to do anything. Or you can say, well, I don't mind, I like agriculture, you can grow it, but you can't do anything else in the city. So there's, I don't know how many permutations if you want to count in that, things that we can do with the 6. But it's going to be a little bit more of an extended debate here than it was for just the one issue on early sales.
Okay. Well, we're not going to dig into all those permutations and combinations right now, but the council will have to address that. Let's talk about restrictions versus ban.
Okay.
So I think we know what ban means, is you can't grow it, you can't process it. You
can't do it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, except the sales from the 2 dispensaries that already exist, right? Right
now, we think that they're grandfathered. There's interesting, if you look in House Bill 3400, it talks about a medical dispensary that had been licensed and gone through the land use process.
Okay, what's that?
So it's not an and or. So, well, our 2 dispensaries didn't go through a land use process. They didn't have to come and ask for a conditional use permit, or they didn't have to come and ask for a variance in zoning, because the council allowed it as we would like any, where we can do other sales operations. So they didn't go through a land use property. Now, one would think, common sense wise, that they would be grandfathered, but we don't know. We can't find anything that says yes or no.
Okay.
I'm sure that'll become clearer as we get more down the process.
Wow, okay. So let's talk about restriction. There's three ways to restrict.
Mm-hmm. You can restrict time, place, or manner.
Uh-huh.
And when I say time, that's, for instance, I think liquor sales here in the city, 7:30 or 8 o'clock to evening hours. And so they, you can't sell liquor 24/7 here in McMinnville. So that's a time restriction. Mm-hmm. Place restriction would be, you can't locate your business within 1,000 feet of a school.
Okay, this is a great time. Mike, would you bring up that map? The city has created this map to help us understand what these 1,000-foot restriction radiuses will look like. So I think this is a great map. Let's just take a minute and orient the people that are watching to it. If you look down there in the lower right-hand corners, there's that funny-shaped building. That's the ESD down there near Lowe's, and then to the right of that is Sue Buell, mm-hmm. and then going north, there's Columbus, and out there on the
big building
in the middle on the left is Newby and Dunaway, and then the little green spots are the pool, library, and the community center.
Yes.
So these all have these yellow. These are 1,000-foot.
Those are 1,000-foot buffers.
Buffers, okay, and then headed north more is Memorial, and then that up there is the school, the Christian Church, Baker Creek Church mm-hmm. school there, and then the big one in the middle is the high school, Patent, just up to the right of that, and then way up there is Grand Haven, and then out there, way over on the right is
ISA. Yes.
Out at the Evergreen Space Museum. So that gives an idea of what's left. Now, the gray area is where it predominantly will not be allowed because it's residential.
Yeah, and there's been some restrictions already put in place by Oregon statutes, and one of those is the processing and things in the residential areas. So,
okay. Now, the big blue, what's that?
I believe that's your industrial.
Yes.
Is it not? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the pink is
commercial.
Commercial. So it's complicated. That map, that little legend up there in the upper left, talks about yes and no for these various activities mm-hmm. and whether they can happen in the what can happen in the pink and the blue. But many different activities of the marijuana can take place in the pink and the blue.
It could, and those restrictions that are up there are what's on the books right now. Uh-huh. So, like I said, Oregon put restrictions in there, not within 1,000 feet of a school.
Right. We've got that
not within for medical dispensaries, not within 1,000 feet of each other, and that's so you don't have a lot of dispensaries all in the same location. Kind of spreads them out a little bit.
Now, they could add preschools to this.
They could, and it's exactly what they did for medical marijuana. So with the map you have there is we added the 3 areas for the 3 downtown locations, but the square up there, if you go onto our website at the city, those are just current existing restrictions via the state and some of our local. Those are not restrictions that anything to do with marijuana itself because we haven't ruled on marijuana yet.
This is just where commercial operations can go.
Right now, if we don't put anything additional on there.
I see.
So we can still apply another layer of restrictions to further regulate exactly where these businesses could locate. For instance, Grand Junction, I did a time, place, manner restriction, and they said that for growing, you could only grow indoors because there's a smell associated, I guess, with the marijuana plant. So they didn't want that inside city. So those are the things that will
be a manner.
Exactly.
I see.
So, but this is the bare minimum.
Okay.
I would anticipate that probably when we talk about this for any of those 6 areas that we don't ban, that there's a very good possibility additional restrictions will go on so that these businesses are located in spots that are conducive to their success and not against the feel and nature of the neighborhood.
Okay, all right, well said. I'm confident that that will be a difficult process.
We'll get through it, though.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
Okay. Now we have already in place, so we have several restrictions in place already around marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
More can be added. The hearing about what those may be will be October.
Well, first we'll figure out if we're going to ban any of them.
Okay. So
That's going to be the 27th.
Assuming that's the when the city council decides. The hearing to get input is on September 8th.
For early sales.
For early sales.
And then we'll have a hearing on which of the 6 to ban. That public hearing will be on October 27th.
Right. To talk about the things we were just talking about. Yeah. Okay.
And then we haven't set a date yet in November because I would anticipate probably the second council session in November will have a public hearing on time, place restriction.
Okay.
For any area that's not banned. And then December, that leaves us with taxation.
All right, let's talk about taxation. Yeah, that was one argument for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you can tax it. And I always kind of held off at that. I think we should decide this socially before we decided on how much money it's going to get us. Mm-hmm. And that's been decided. I mean, Measure 91 did that. So now it is going to be a reality, so let's talk about taxing it. What's in place now?
Okay, when it's going to start, the recreational sales will start 1 October at medical dispensaries if it's allowed. So starting on that October 1st, running through January, beginning of January, no taxes at all. They just couldn't get it done prior to the implementation of House Bill 3400, the changes it made to Measure 91. So we get any medical dispensary that sells recreational will get a tax holiday. However, starting in January, the sales of medical marijuana or medical dispensaries for recreational sold at medical dispensaries, it'll be taxed at 25%.
Okay.
Now, any recreational area that stands up, gets a license and stands up just a recreational business, will be taxed at 17%.
Why?
So you can go, why have medical guys taxed at 25, but recreational guys taxed at 17? Well, it's my opinion. I think they want to get medical out of the business of selling recreational. Medical should be medical. It was kind of a one-time thing only. It only runs through 2016. So it gives a little impetus for the medical guys to get out of it. And if they want to sell recreational, start up a totally different recreational side and go to a lower tax rate. So I think that's what was built in. It's just a natural push to get medical out of the recreational business.
Then what other taxes can happen?
So the state tax, like I said, is going to be at 17% for recreational. By the way, 10% of that will come back to the cities based on based on your population, and it'll go into our law enforcement activities. Now,
and this is all predicated unless nothing comes back to us if we.
Oh, that's right. As we go through this process about the 6 categories.
Yes.
If we ban if we just ban one, then we will lose the right to do any additional local sales tax on marijuana.
We skipped over one thing. If the city decides to ban 1 or 2 or 3, 4 or 5 or 6, it goes to a vote, is that right?
It does.
It goes back to the people to approve that ban.
Yes. The ban will act actually as a moratorium. Okay. Once it's in place, it acts as a moratorium, and a business can't apply for a license if they're cited here in McMinnville. The OLCC won't accept the licensing package. So at that point, the ban comes on. And then in November of 2016, it'll go back to a ballot. On any ban will then be brought to a yes, no, up, down vote on whether the citizens want to continue it or want to overturn it.
Okay. Now, that vote is interesting because the city on Measure 91 broke about 52% for and 48% against. So if the city councilors banned something and it went to the vote of the people, it would be interesting to see if the opinion of the people has changed around that certain issue, or if they're just like, hey, we already voted this once, why are you trying to stop it?
Well, it's interesting because Measure 91 was for the personal use. And then the idea of now we got to talk about the business side of it. So it's a little twist, because now we're asking.
It's a new question.
So it's a little shift of, yes, you can, there's no question, personal use, that's passed, cannot be overturned. Now we go into the business side of the house, though, and we ask the citizens, not do you want to allow personal use, it's do you want these businesses here in the city?
Yeah, okay.
So interesting.
So if there's any ban, then we lose the opportunity to tax. Even if you banned maybe processing, and there was a lot of other tax being levied on those other activities that were left, and that tax would go to the state, and then none would come back to us because we had banned one of them.
Well, we still get the 17% for, and there's going to be a change in 2017.
Okay.
They're stair-stepping this in. But the ability to add the local sales tax up to 3%,
yes,
that's gone totally.
Okay.
Now, if you ban activities,
yes,
then when it comes to, they're going to change the laws in 2017 on how they divvy up the taxes.
Okay.
And it's going to go from just city population to you only get tax if you have a permitted, licensed business in marijuana in your city.
Okay.
So if we banned it, then by default, at that point, after June 2017, we would not be getting any tax.
You and I were talking to Candace Haynes, and this arcane possibility came up that if the city banned something, and then it went to the voters, and they said, no, we overturned that ban, we would then could have lost our ability to get to receive taxes.
Yep, Candace is our attorney, and fantastic, has over 34 years of municipal experience. And Doug Montgomery out there is our planning director. He's looked as well. We've been looking around, talking to other folks. Right now, it looks that if you ban, no matter what happens in the future, you lose the ability to add the local sales tax forever. Now, could there be legal action for a city suing the state saying that that's unlawful? I don't. It's all supposition of what could happen in the future. But right now, as we read it, unless something changes, we would lose the ability to do the local sales tax.
Okay. I think we've dug in about as deep as we should, because it's starting to get murkier. I'm asking questions and you're saying, well, this could happen, but we don't know, wait and see.
Exactly.
So I think we've probably pretty much covered it. Let's just go back to that September 8th hearing so that people can come and talk about banning early sales or not. And then keep in mind the October 27th hearing around restriction of the various processes that we talked about.
Yep.
All right, we want an informed.
Can I also say, I just want to make sure for clarity, there is no opportunity for the council to ban personal use. That's been authorized by Measure 91. So, we could totally be a dry county per se for marijuana.
Yes.
But the ability for someone to go over to Portland or Salem is very much a possibility. And they're allowed to transport, an ounce. They can have at their home up to 8 ounces and up to 4 plants per house. And none of this can affect their right to have that personal product.
So I just noticed the Salem City Council passed the whole thing. And so if we ban everything here, people drive to Salem, come back,